Now let's talk about the content topic types and really kind of dive into this. Remember, this is that top first row in the content strategy canvas. And there are various types, and we've come up with multiple. There's probably more than this, but these are kind of some basic types. So one is what is content. The next is how-to content. Then there's belief shift content. You then have thought leadership content, educational content, success story content, entertainment content, engagement content, and promotional content. Now, I want to be clear. I am not suggesting that everyone should use each type of content. Far from it. You're going to pick and choose between the types of content. The important thing, and we're going to go through these one by one, and when we do, I'll show you where they will naturally fit in the silos between awareness, authority, and consideration. So the important thing is that you have to make sure that you're filling in your strategy in a way that will make sense, that will really help people to understand and make the decision, but you've got to kind of make sure that you're doing content types to fill each place. So I wanted to give you this quick overview before we go through the different topic types specifically. So let's start with what is content. This is content that literally defines terms and helps people understand basic concepts in your niche. The goal of this content is to answer questions that someone might type into Google about your niche. So like in my case, it could be, what is a lead magnet? Or what is email marketing? Now, you can see how that's very early stage, but there are other ones that might be more advanced, like, what is search engine optimization? What is search engine marketing? Those are kind of maybe a little bit more advanced questions. And the idea is these are things that people are actually asking. And so you're going to write content or create content that answers that question. This type of content generally fits most squarely in awareness content. Now, if you think about it, if I was writing if I create a content, what is a lead magnet? That doesn't really build a lot of authority because it's not establishing a great amount of knowledge, but it could. It could build some authority, and especially if you create a lot of this content, and so you become a repository. The one idea we've thought about, by the way, it would fit into this, but it would be creating a marketing glossary or an online marketing glossary. So we would literally have a list of definitions of terms that are used frequently. That's basically a bunch of what is content. Well, that would be good for awareness, but it would also be good for authority, because if we had a comprehensive list of terms that people use in the online marketing space, well, guess what? All of a sudden people say, oh, Bobby probably knows his stuff because he's got this really comprehensive glossary. So you can see how what is content could become authority content if you do enough of it. But its natural place is in awareness, because again, the key here was when I said, what is the goal? The goal is to answer questions that someone might type into Google. And so you're thinking, hey, maybe I can get some search engine optimization, or in YouTube, get people to stumble upon it. So that's what is content. The next type of content is how-to content. And this is content that's kind of similar to what is, but instead of defining a term, it's walking through how to accomplish this. So like what is content, the goal is to answer questions people are actively asking in your area of expertise. And similar to what is content, it's awareness and authority content. Now, I would say that how-to content can have more natural authority piece, like if you show people how to do that. So you could think, for example, I could have how to write the first email you send a new subscriber to your list. And that could be authority content, because I'm going to explain a very specific way. Now, number one, I'm hooking into a question people might be asking, like, how do I structure that first email I send to people? But then I build authority because I would present my catch email structure. And so I would show people that I've put a lot of thought into this and I'm giving them an answer. Now, even if you were giving people more of a simple walkthrough, that could clearly be useful. And I think about people, if you were a service provider and you were a Facebook ads manager and you did how-to content that showed people how to set certain things up, that would build some authority for you. So you can start to see how this could build authority in addition to being awareness content. Now, I'll talk about generally most of us should be creating at least one of these forms of content, either how to or what is, because these are probably the best types of content for awareness, because it's literally meeting people where they are. What are questions people are asking? What are things that they might type into Google? So because of that, it's content that is really good for getting people's attention over the long term. Now, the next type is belief shift content. This is content that's meant to change people's perspective about things and about how they solve a problem. So ideally, what you're going to do here is you're going to hook them with what they are currently thinking or asking, and then show them why they should think differently. So this type of content is some of the most versatile when done right. It can check all of the boxes. It can literally fill all of the objectives, because if you hook them with what they are asking for, that will be awareness, because what they're asking, it'll get their attention. But for the people for whom you shift their beliefs, it will build your authority, because, you showed them something that's different that they weren't thinking. They're like, ooh, this makes sense. And then it will generally fit into consideration, because oftentimes what you're doing is you're moving them so that they will be in a position where they're more apt to buy what you are selling, because your selling product, whatever your offer is going to match the way that you are going to shift their belief to thinking about things. And I'll give you a concrete example here of how I could do this. I could create belief shifting content that would be something like this. Why using templates to write your emails could sabotage your email marketing, okay? And I would do that. And so people are like, wait a minute, I want a template. That makes it easy. That's what they're looking for. I know that a lot of people are looking for templates, for like plug and play templates they can use for email. So it would hook them because that's what they're looking for. And if they saw it, they might be like, ooh, wait, should I not be doing that? So they would read it. And then I would make the case and explain to them, the problem is that the role of email is to connect your people to you. And how in the world are you ever going to connect your people to you if you're just filling in the blanks on an email that someone else wrote? Like, that would be one piece of how I would like deconstruct it. I would do more, but you can see how I do that. And so they would be, oh, okay, so this is making sense. Yeah, I see why I can't do that. And then I would say, that's why I don't give people templates. Instead, I teach people frameworks to use to actually write the different emails and to make it painless to do it. So that would be how I would kind of do it. And you can see how I could hook people, I could build authority and make them more likely to sign up for BOMU so they get access to the email course, or maybe even buy my book. So that would be a piece that could do all of it. Now, I'll tell you, belief shifting content is complicated. You have to be willing to make a case. You have to do a good job making the case. It's easiest for people like me who our brand avatar is as a rebel. So we are naturally seeing things that we think are wrong about the status quo. And then we also, like for me, I happen to have the communication strength. So it's some of my highest superpowers are influence and communication. So I can deconstruct things and create messaging that will make the case for why what they're thinking is wrong and why what I think and what I'm teaching them is right. So for me, this is a natural form of content. For other people, it's not. But if you can do it well, it can be a staple of your content as well. But what I want to draw a distinction here so that you understand it is belief shifting is not about necessarily like changing the entire industry. Oftentimes what it's about is identifying what people who are starting their search, the misconceptions they have, and then bringing them along. Now, the next form of content we're talking about is thought leadership content. This is content that pushes the envelope by basically presenting an entirely new approach to something. This is not shifting the beliefs of an individual. This is about changing the way or arguing for why an entire niche should change the way it thinks about things. So this is about kind of a bigger picture thing. And you can see how I've put this down as authority and consideration content, but not awareness. And the reason why is your thought leadership content, you're not answering a question that people currently have. You're telling them something entirely new. And because it's new, it won't be something that people are actively searching for. So you're not going to be able to get people's attention with it. Now, over time, your thought leadership could get to the point that it is so well known that it can become attention bearing or awareness content. You could think of things like StoryBrand, for example. When they first came out with StoryBrand, that was not a concept that was known. But now a lot of people have heard of the concept of StoryBrand, and so that thought leadership can actually build awareness as well. But I want you to get that piece. What I want to caution here is not everybody has to create thought leadership content. You should only be creating thought leadership content if you're kind of the way you're viewing the role of your business is as a thought leader. If you're a service provider who's simply helping people in current ways of doing things, don't create thought leadership. If you're a teacher and you want to build a business, and I don't mean like a teacher in school, but like your natural kind of inclination is to teach people things, but not new things. You're simply going to be very good at teaching them how to do existing things or how to implement existing ideas. You don't need thought leadership. So don't feel that you have to create this form of content, but if you are someone who naturally is wanting to push the envelope, you're going to want to create this form of content. The next form of content is educational content. And so think of this as deeper dives than a how-to or what is content. And it could be something like an ultimate guide that kind of covers the field or a mini course or full-blown training. And the goal here is to teach people really valuable information. Now, this is authority content and consideration content. Getting people to really pay attention to this very deep dive stuff is hard because you're talking about a lot of stuff. You're not addressing a very discrete topic, and discrete topics are the best way to get people's attention. But you can see that if I created an ultimate guide to email marketing for online business owners and publish that on my website, you could see how that would build authority. That would make people say, oh, okay, Bobby's got a ton of stuff here. He's really helping me understand it. It would also be consideration content because it'll tend to show like how you view things, et cetera, and that can move people along in the journey. Next, we've got success story content. This is basically case studies as content. And the difference between this and a case study you would use as sales collateral is that you're going to highlight the success of your students or clients, but you're going to make sure that you're giving actionable lessons for people. So if you're going to create a blog post, for example, or do a YouTube video or a podcast episode where you're highlighting a success story for someone that you work with, you're going to want to make sure that it's not just about selling your thing, but pulling out important lessons that people can take action on all the time. So that's a form of content. You can see that will build authority because, hey, you got people results, and consideration content because maybe people want to get the same kind of results. So that's how this content would come in. The next type of content is entertainment. This is literally what it sounds like. You're entertaining people. And this can be a great way to get people's attention and then also to nurture your existing audience by showing your personality. Now, you'll notice that this is a weird one. It's at the beginning and the end. It doesn't really build authority. If you think about it, entertainment content would rarely build authority unless you were trying to build authority for being funny or being entertaining, but that's not really what authority content is. But this is why, if you think about Reels as an example, where people are doing funny things, whether it's voiceovers or that stuff, this is entertainment content. It's about getting attention, but it will also nurture your existing audience. So that's where this can fit in. Now, the next category is engagement content. This is normally kind of a specific type of entertainment content where you're actively asking people to interact or give you input, but it doesn't have to be entertainment. It could also be controversial content that engages people, that people will react to. But the idea is, again, this will get awareness because it's getting engagement, which will tend to make it more likely to get people's attention, but it will also be consideration because it will nurture your people and really kind of go deeper with them. So that's your engagement content. Now, the last thing I was going to mention here is promotional content. This is content where you're basically asking your audience to take a specific action. So it's conversion content for your existing warm audience, but we're not talking necessarily about buying, but you might say, ask them to go sign up for your list or do something like that. That is it's promotional content more than anything else. So those are the content topic types. So those are kind of, you can start to see and fill this in and hopefully you're seeing types of content that you're like, oh, that, I think I can do that and I can naturally do that. And others are like, well, maybe that's not gonna be right for me. And that's okay. Just make sure that you're filling in each of the objectives on your canvas so that you know that you're checking, kind of all those objectives and doing all the things that your content is meant to do.